Okay, hello and good morning. We're in week 5, and you were off yesterday. Make sure you put real big at the top of your bell work. Remember, bell work is picked up at the end of the marking period. Don't turn it in to me for the weekly work. All right, let's take a look here. This one right here is division, and when you have division right here, you have to flip the second one. Keep, change, flip. So you're going to keep it, change it, and flip it. And when you do, this cancels out. So you get 7 over 1, which equals 7. So that one's pretty easy. Let's take a look at another one. This one right here, what you're doing is multiplying. So let's take a look. Number 2. This is factored, this is factored, this is factored. All of this is factored. So you can reduce this one right there. You can reduce the n minus 3. And I think that's all you can reduce. So your answer is going to be 7n squared over all of this. And that's all you can do. Now you technically could use FOIL, but we're going to leave it like that. Let's talk about today's work. On a new sheet of paper, copy this down. All right, so when you add and subtract fractions, you need a least common denominator. Write that down. Need a least common denominator. For example, I want you to add 2 over 3 plus 1 over 5. Add that up. Well, here, your least common denominator is 15. So what you're going to do is take the 5 and put it over here, and then take the 3 and put it over here. We went over this a long time ago, so you're going to get 10 over 15 plus 3 over 15, which gives you 13 over 15, and that's your answer. And that's how you do that. And today's work with rational expressions works the same way. So here, you already have the same denominator, so you just add up your numerators. Now keep in mind that if this was a minus, you would have to distribute the minus to both of these. Okay? So here, v, or u rather, plus 6u is going to make 7u. And then a negative 1v and a negative 3v is a negative 4v over 8v. And that's your answer. Remember, you can't reduce this because you can't break up a plus and a minus. Okay, so that's your answer. Let's take a look at this one. This one's subtraction. Your denominators are factored, so what you're going to do is put the 4 over here, and you're going to put the x minus 1 over here, just like we did a moment ago. So that's going to be 24 over 4 times x minus 1. Now this negative sign you're going to have to distribute, okay? So negative 5x times x is going to be a negative 5x squared, and a negative 5x times a negative 1, a negative times a negative is going to be a positive, and then 5x times 1 is 5x. Okay, so all of this now is over your least common denominator. See how your denominator is now the same as that one? So you only write it one time. So here, let's see what we can do. I would say combine like terms, but I don't think we can. So let's rewrite it as negative 5x squared, this one first, plus 5x, and then plus 24. Now what we could do is try to factor this. Okay, it might very well factor. So you technically have to try. So the first thing you would do is take out a negative. So you're left with 5x squared minus 5x. Remember, the signs change. And then minus 24, all over your least common denominator. Okay, so now you got to factor this. It's going to be a beast. It's going to be 5 times 24. Let's see what that is. So 5 times 24 is going to give me 120. So I have 120. A negative and a negative is going to give me a plus and a minus. So I'm going to be subtracting to get a 5. Let me see what it might be. 12 times 10 is going to subtract to give me 2. That doesn't work. Okay. And technically, you're supposed to go right down the list here. So let me think about this. Okay, so I guess there's no easy way. So 1 times 120 subtracts, but it doesn't give me 5. 2 times 60 subtracts. 3 times 40 is 120. That subtracts to give me 37. I'm getting closer. 4 times something. So 120, I guess I could have left that, divided by 4 equals 30. That's going to subtract but not give me 5. 5 times something. So 120 divided by 5. 24. That subtracts to give me 19. I'm getting closer. 6 times 20, I think. So that subtracts to give me 14. 7 I don't think works. 8, let's try 8. 120 divided by 8 equals 15. 8 and 15, that subtracts to give me 7. 9, I don't know that 9 works. So 120 divided by 9, that doesn't work. And 10 does work. 10 times 12. All right, there's nothing that's going to subtract to give me 5. So this is your answer. Okay, but you have to try. Well, let's take a look at this one right here. This one right here, you have to first factor your denominators. For example, this right here, I can take out a 3. I can take out an x. And I'm left with x plus 4. Okay, so this is what I get here. All right, now you have to have the same denominator, so pay attention here. We already have the x, so you can leave the x alone. But this one is 2 and 3 is a 6. So what you're going to do is multiply this side right here. You're missing, let me see what you're missing. You're missing a 2 over here. So you're going to multiply this by 2. This one you're going to multiply by 3x. Well, we already have the x, so you're going to multiply by 3. And then x plus 4. 3, and then x plus 4. If you look at it now, you have everything. You have 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 3 is 6. You have the x, and you have the x plus 4. So now we have the same denominator. So your least common denominator, 2 times 3 is 6x, and then x plus 4. Okay, that's your LCD. Now you're going to go ahead and simplify the top. So 2 times 2 is going to be 4 plus 8 times 3 is 24 times x is 24x. And then 24 times 4, whatever that is going to be 96. So you're going to get plus 96. And then you're going to combine these and you're going to get 100. So let me think about this. So you're going to get equals 100 plus 24x all over 6x plus or times x plus 4. Now, let me think here. I think we can factor out a 2 to get rid of some of this. So you would factor out a 2 and you'd be left with 50 plus 12x over 6x and then x plus 4, and then you'd have to reduce this. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 6, 3. I don't think you can take a 3 out, so I think that's your answer right there. And that's a lot of work. Let me slide it over. Okay, so when you add and subtract, you must have the same denominator. Let's just try one together here. All right, so look, this one has the same denominator, so you just add the top. So does this one. So does this one. So all you're going to do is add that up. Okay. This one has the same denominator. Okay, so you just add up the numerators. This one does not have the same denominator. Okay. So what you're going to do on this one is you're going to multiply by 4 right here. And then on this one, you're going to multiply by x minus 1. This is going to be a little bit of a challenge here. Okay, you must have the same denominator before you can combine the numerators. Okay, here's one more. Put a 1 under here. Okay, the least common denominator is all of this. So you got to multiply 6 times all of this. So 7x minus 5, and then x plus 4. So it's going to be a challenge today. So you're going to multiply 6. You're going to first do FOIL, and then multiply by 6. You're going to distribute that minus sign and combine like terms. And everything is going to be over your least common denominator, which is this. Okay, so dig in today. The first 6 are going to be easy because your denominators are the same. After that, it gets harder. So I want side 1. All right, let's turn our attention now to geometry. How do you remember trig functions? Well, you go by so, and I want you to write that down, ka, toa. Okay, sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay, you're standing by the angle. You can't stand at the 90. That's the rule. So you're going to stand here since I give you the 35. You could subtract from 180 and stand over here, but we're going to stand right here. All right, now label your sides. Remember the hypotenuse always goes first. Okay, and then across from the 35 will be the opposite. And the one that hits the dot is the adjacent. Okay, make sure you have that labeled correctly. All right, so we're trying to find x. X is the opposite. So we're looking for opposite. And we know either one of these, it doesn't matter which one you use. I'm going to use the hypotenuse. Okay, so a trig function that has a h and a o, h and a o is right here. So put the sine of 35 degrees is equal to, now the hypotenuse is on the bottom, so the 5 has to go on the bottom. Okay, and we'll solve this in a minute. But let's say you use the opposite and the adjacent, which you could because you have the adjacent as well. So let's try it a different way. Let's try opposite with adjacent. Let's see what trig function that is. An O and an A is tangent. So that would be the tangent of 35 degrees is equal to opposite on top of the adjacent. Let's see if we get the same answer for these, okay? And you should. So this one we're going to multiply by 5. And this one you're going to multiply by 7. Let's try it. So clear your calculator out. Press 35 sine, or however you do it on your calculator, times 5. So I get 2.9 on this one. This one should give me 2.92, so let's try it. 35 tangent times 7, and I get something different. So let me check and see what I did wrong. Let me try it again. 35 tangent, okay, times 7 equals, I get 4.9 on this one. So let me just try again. 35 sine, okay, times 5, and I get 2.89. So I still get the same thing. So let me just check my work. Opposite over adjacent is tangent, so the tangent of 35. That seems right. And the sine is opposite over hypotenuse, and that should be right there. So we should get the same value here, okay? Now we're not going to get stuck on this, so put a question mark, and we'll come back to it. All right? So it should have worked either way. Let me think about this one more time. Sine is opposite on top of the hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over the adjacent. Okay, not quite sure why that doesn't work, but we're not going to get stuck on that. All right, so put a question mark, copy down these two right here. Now this is something new today, okay, so pay attention to this. This one, you're actually looking for the angle. This is called a Greek letter, theta, but you can change it to x. So let's change it to x. Okay, now stand right here by the x and label your sides. So we have the hypotenuse, we have the opposite, and we have the adjacent. Okay, so once your sides are labeled, you're looking for, well, you're not looking for this one, but you're really not looking for a side, you're looking for the angle. See here? Finding an angle. This is a little different. But we have the hypotenuse, and we have the adjacent. So we're looking for a trig function. So TOA, HA is cosine. So we're going to do the cosine. So right now put the cosine of angle X is equal to, hypotenuse is on the bottom. So the 13 is going to be on the bottom. Okay? And then the 12, the adjacent, is on the top. Now draw a line, circle the X. We're going to divide by the word cosine. And when you divide by cosine, it becomes something called the arc cosine. Write that down. When you divide by cosine, it becomes the arc cosine. Now what that means is we're looking for an angle. So look here. Here's how you do it. You take 12, divide it by 13, press equals, and then hit shift, and then press cosine. Make sure you hit shift, and then cosine. And if you look down at the bottom of mine, it's a little -1. So this angle, angle X, is equal to 22.6 degrees. Now I want you to try one. Copy this one down, number 2, and let's work it. Label your sides and figure out what trig function. Don't go any further. So if I stand here, this one's opposite, this is the hypotenuse, and this is the adjacent. So the trig function is adjacent and hypotenuse. So that one is also cosine right here. So put the cosine of angle X is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay? Circle the X, you're going to divide by the cosine. So when you do, you're going to get angle X is equal to the arc cosine. And you have to hit the shift key. When you're looking for an angle, you got to hit the shift key. So here it is. So 4 divided by 5 equals shift, and then you want the cosine. So that's 36.9 degrees. And there it is. And that's how you do it. All right, so let's see what's the work for today. Today, you're going to have a worksheet. And here's what I want you to do, so watch carefully. Okay? On the front side, it says the sine of angle C. So put a dot by the C, and then write down your trig function. So, TOA. Okay. So label your sides, hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. Okay, so the sine, the formula, the sine is opposite over the hypotenuse. So the opposite is 21, and the hypotenuse is 29. So the answer is 21 over 29, and that's all you do. So for this top part, all you do is stand wherever they tell you to stand, and then you write the trig function. Like if I'm standing at X, put a dot. Tangent is TOA, so it's opposite over adjacent. So the opposite is 36, and the adjacent is 27. So your answer is 36 over 27, and then you got to try to reduce it. I think you can reduce it by 3. So make sure you reduce them, okay? So that's going to be 12 over 9. And it looks like you can go by 3 again. So when you divide by 3, it's going to be 4 over 3. And there it is. And that's your answer. Okay? Now on the back side of this worksheet, you're going to be figuring out the angles. Okay? Just like we did on the work a moment ago. Okay? And then down here, you just use your calculator. So draw a line, circle the X. You're going to divide by the word sine. And when you do, it becomes the arc sine. Okay? Arc sine of 0.7547. Let's see what that is. So 0.74, try it again. 0.7547 shift sine. I get 48.99 degrees. And actually, it's going to round to 49.0 degrees. That should be the answer. That's how you do those. So all of these are the arc. Okay, because here you're going to be dividing by the word cosine, and it's going to become the arc cosine. Okay? All right, that's your work for today, and I'll help you in class. Have a good day.